If you can hear me okay, this is Neil with Simpler Trading. And for the purpose of the stream that's going out to YouTube and Facebook and wherever this goes, tell you that you can find us at simplertrading.com. I'm one of the trade room moderators and content providers at Simpler Trading. Find me mostly in the futures room, spend a little bit of time in the options room as well, mainly in the futures room though. So with that, if you're hearing me okay, and we can with that get started. So should see on screen a series of about 8 charts. These are futures charts. Across the top you got some index futures, and along the bottom some commodities, gold, crude, etc., some treasuries and that kind of thing. But these are your regular candles, just a regular, I've got a trend bar study on these, but these are just regular time candles that are set to whatever periodicity we happen to set them to. And that's all well and good, but the reason that we're here together today is I was asked to walk through some charts that I use that are not like this, um, but yet profile charts that we will have a look at, that we look at in terms of both time and volume. Okay. So here on this chart, regardless, now these are regular like 3 and 5 minute candles or whatever. It doesn't matter what we set this periodicity to. It's not so much really the profile that you see in the background is not so much really reflecting what's going on with regard to the time scope on that candle, but yet the volume transactions that are going off at price. Okay, so another way to say that would be that a volume profile chart is creating this histogram or profile that we see in the background, that you see horizontally laid out from left to right. The more elongated it is to the right, the more volume that was transacted at that price. And in times past, a lot of folks would look at this same kind of a thing, but they would do it in a market profile, which is based on time spent at price. Okay, so we can add that to this and have a look at what that would look like. All right, where are you going to be? There you are, monkey bars. We're going to add that, apply it. And now what we're going to have on the right over here is going to be a market profile. Okay. This is going to give us a series of, in Toss's version, this is Thinkorswim in Toss's version, it's going to give us a series of numbers, but I'm going to show you a TradeStation layout of this also that's more in line with the traditional sense that this is laid out, and that is with a series of letters. So you have a series of A and then B, C, etc. that will print up and down as long as price is printing up and down in a certain window of time. Historically, that's really about 30 minutes, and so you get a series of ones or A's up and down for the time that price spends about 30 minutes, and then you'll get the same series for the second 30 minutes, but it would be in letter B or number 2. What's interesting here, though, is that when I pull this up and we get on a 5-day or 5-minute bar here, you're going to see that we're getting 5 days worth of data, as you can see right there. So over 5 days of data, all inclusive, what's kind of interesting to me here is the fact that you can see the most traded price here in terms of volume is about 37 in the ES, 41.37, but it's also about the same in the market profile, or where it spent the most time. So that does not have to be the case. It can be slightly different. It's, you could spend a lot more time at a price, but then the bulk of the volume goes off at a different price because of something happened, like a news event or something like that, right? So that certainly can happen and does from time to time. But interestingly, here, what we've got is a case of where the most time was spent also coincidentally, and it does make sense when you think about it, but coincidentally, it's also the price where the most volume was transacted as well. So what we have here is where the most time or the most volume, it depends on whether you're looking at a market profile on the right or a volume profile on the left. That's called the point of control. And in the entire range, you'll get about 70% of that comprised from high to low will be the value area and outside. So in this case, we have a value area high up here of about 41.77, value area low down here for the week of 40.77, 100 wide, and the most traded price in terms of volume and time right in the middle at about 41.30, call it 6 or 7. Okay. So that is a brief explanation of what you see on this chart. Well, it's also a brief explanation of the way we look at both market profile, time, and volume profile, volume transacted. Okay. Now, on this chart, you can see that I've got two different things going on here in the volume study. I've got one for each individual day that's in the blue shaded background, and then in behind that, you can see the developing weekly in tan. That's a developing weekly profile. This week is a pretty interesting week in that it's a triple distribution with one big main distribution up here at the top at the value area high, another big distribution down here at the bottom where yesterday's price went off down here and created a lot of volume transacted down here at the bottom at value area low. And it just happens to be, it's just coincidental, but it happens to be in this case that there is the third distribution right in the middle. But this one makes sense. As you would anticipate it, obviously having a high probability of having a time TPO point of control. It also is going to make sense that it's the most elongated HVN or HVA high volume node or area in the middle that is the point of control in terms of volume as well. So what I'm trying to do here is pay attention to a couple of things. One of which is each individual day, I'm trying to look at not only what the point of control is, obviously, what the value area high low is, obviously, but also the shape of the profile as well. You can see here back on Monday, this was a very much a just normal distribution or very well rounded point of control right in the middle value area around it, obviously, just as you would think of as traditional, standard bell curve like in stats or something like in stats class. That's very different though from what you see going on here on Tuesday. This was a very interesting day. You can see that it's very thin at the top and then rounded down here at the bottom, actually double distribution on the bottom, but very thin at the top. This is indicative of price that was moving. The thin nature of it on the top is indicative of, even if you took those price candles away, you'd know just by looking at the shape of this that price was moving very quickly. It's like a discovery, kind of a discovery, price discovery phase. And bad resolution. Where's that comment coming from? Is that from the simpler room? Let me see. Very fuzzy. Okay. Craig in the uh, trading room. We do have, this is being recorded on Camtasia recording software. And so the resolution from that for review afterward will be much, much, much clearer. I can actually try to do one thing for you real quick. Give me 1 second. I'll try. Okay, that's possible that that may clear it up a little bit. I just changed the resolution of the chart share in the software that I'm using to mirror kind of copy this and present it. Hopefully that may help. Um, okay. And the reason I had it set to a medium resolution when I was initially doing this was because I'm presenting in so many different venues right now that I was working bandwidth, honestly. I mean, this is going all over the place. Like a couple of different trade rooms here at Simpler while it's going through this restream software that's going out to like YouTube and Facebook and all over the place. So, but thank you for the heads up on that. um, So, where we were just a minute ago is that we want to not only get caught up on the simplicity of like, okay, what's the value area high, low, and point of control? Because we also want to pay attention to the shape of the profile. That can tell us a lot also. And in fact, I would even go so far as to say on Tuesday, the fact that this was such a thin top and then a rounded bottom down here, that this was a long liquidation that was very quick on the break, and that's obviously was stopping out a lot of longs. That's kind of what was going on there. And you can see that even without the price candles, you can see that by just looking at the shape of the profile itself. It's like a lowercase letter B. It's a thin top like a flagpole and then a rounded bottom. That means that very likely what happened is it started on the top and broke quickly and then settled at the bottom. And that's indicative of like long liquidation. Short liquidation would be like a letter P, like Paul or purple, flag at the bottom and then settles at the top. Obviously, the shorts were getting their behinds handed to them on a quick run up and then price settles at the top. And then another shape that we would want to kind of consider looking for would be more like a uppercase letter B, like boy. It would have acceptance, kind of like this acceptance up at the top, and another big acceptance at the bottom, and then that taper in the middle would be your line in the sand division of what was keeping the longs from the shorts or the you know the who's winning. All right. If it gets through there on the way up, it's headed. The stops are toast, and the shorts are toast, and it's headed for the acceptance at the top. And the same's true on the way down. If it gets through that line in the middle, then the longs are toast. It's headed for the acceptance at the bottom. That kind of thing. So what I'm trying to say in saying that is that there's information outside of simply, well, what's the point of control? Or what's the value area? I mean, you want to even consider things like on a big trend day, like this crazy Tuesday here. It wouldn't matter to me where you said what's the value area high. I would say I don't care. What's value in a big wild trend day anyway? To be honest with you, right? So some things they have to be taken really in context, and that is like what type of day was it. We can see a lot of that in the shape of the profile, so that's why that's helpful. So just real quick, let me switch charting software and go to TradeStation. Here's what this would look like in TradeStation. So on the very left over here, this is a market delta or a footprint, and that's showing the bids and asks that were traded. What was traded at bid and ask up and down the ladder over whatever periodicity you set this to. I got it set for 30 minutes, so that to the right of that, I've got what is a traditional um, market profile, and you can see, as I was telling you a minute ago, how the traditional would have it in a series of letters. And so you can see here on the opening 30 minutes this morning, price traded 80. Well, let's see, the A's went all the way down to about 70, like looks like about two, up by like 90 something in 30 minutes. It covered all that range in 30 minutes. And then the next letter B that you'll see is the next 30 minutes, however tall from top to bottom the letter B is, that's what price traded in that range over that next 30 minutes. So when you get to the end of the day and you have the letters, the most elongated at some point, that is going to be where the price spent the most time. That'll be your point of control, okay, on market profile. And then what I like to do, this is my preference. This is what I like to do, is look at it in terms of this, and that is where the volume is transacted the most, where the buyers and sellers came together and transacted the most volume. That is the point of control, or the over under, or balance to me, or acceptance, or the, the price at which the market established value, right? So this is what it looks like in TradeStation, what we're looking at right here on screen. And then this is what your look is in Thinkorswim. It's a little bit different. I like it actually better, I think, to be honest with you. Thinkorswim. There's better that's available on the market. I mean, it's kind of what you get, what you pay for, and the charting and the data and all that is free in Thinkorswim. So we kind of take what we get, but this is pretty decent, especially for the price. I mean, it's definitely acceptable. Gets the job done. I want to make another point. Can you show how to set up that profile in Toss? Absolutely. In fact, I think we could get um, Lorna to create a share link for this chart and have you have the ability to just import it onto your platform exactly how it's on mine. That would be the easiest. However, for the purpose of showing you the answer to your question, that is what's on this chart, you simply do this. You simply put the same indicator on here twice, set one of them to a periodicity of day and the other to week. It'll overlay two profiles on the same chart, one of which will be for each individual day, and the other one will be for the weekly. All right. So in this case, on mine, what I've got is each individual day is in this blue shade with a series of colors on there that make sense to me. And that is the magenta is the point of control, the green is value area high and low. Then in the background, this tan color is a cumulative or developing profile the entire week. At which point we have, now I just chose this, but we could change it, of course. The blue is the value area high low, and the crimson brick red in the middle is the point of control. The trade station one is you can go in the trade station forum and look for, or you can email me and I'll email you the ELD file. Okay. But if you go into the TradeStation forum, you're going to be looking for an indicator in that forum called Solidus, Solidus, price volume histogram. That's in the forum, uh, and it's available there. If you wish, you can simply email me, Neil, Neil, at simplertrading.com, and I'll reply to you with the ELD file that creates this, as well as, honestly, I'm just going to send you the whole TSW TradeStation workspace file that would have the setup just like it is here. First, you would import the ELD file and then open and save the TSW file so that you'd have the whole workspace. But if you want to, for anybody else that just wants to, you can just go in the TradeStation forum and download that Solidus price volume histogram ELD file and create a price volume histogram on your TradeStation charts. In Toss, Thinkorswim, it's a standard indicator in your indicator library called volume profile. And the other one for the market profile is called monkey bars. I don't know why they chose that, but whatever. You just kind of roll with it. Like I say, we take what we get for the price, and it's not bad. This is okay. Now, let me show you some functionality here that you need to really be aware of, and this is very important. Okay. I want to go now to a daily chart, and I'm going to show you how to create a profile for something that you have interest in looking at. You have a reason to do something, right? What's your reason for wanting to? Well, this is really, there we go. Wow, slow. This is like the I think I can. I think I can. Okay, here we go. So we're going to have interest in creating a profile. You say, well, I'm not sure I understand. What are we talking about? Okay. Well, look back here with me, if you will. December the 19th, you can see price broke down from higher prices, 4,100, and it broke swiftly and started. You didn't know at the time, but after a while, we start to pick up on the fact that this price is really choppy and overlapping here, and it's going sideways for a period of time. It went sideways all the way till the end of the year at January the 5th. Okay. So, what we did with that information is we said, I want to profile that as though it's one body of trade. It's sideways and overlapping, it's choppy, and it certainly is created a range. It's certainly a range trade, and it's very much sideways here for a period of December about the 19th through January the 5th. And so what we do is we do this. We go back to our profile chart and toss. This is how you do it. And we say, all right, I want to create a profile to look at that. That is what I want to do. So I'm going to the settings on your market profile, or your volume in this case, and I'm going to set a custom range, custom date range. Now we just talked a minute ago and we decided that that custom date range was about uh, December the 19th, and that was of last year, 22. And that was through, I think we decided that was through January the 5th of, I guess that would be 23. So we're going to profile that. We're going to tell it now, we're going to double click on the indicator, and I'm going to tell it, I want all that information on one chart. I'm going to create a profile of that very specific information. Now, what's interesting here is you see the point of control for that period of trade. We had, first of all, I want you to stop and think and realize I had a reason. I explained the reason for wanting to look at something, and that was this range of trades. So I'm going to create one profile as though it was like one day. Imagine those were 5-minute candles. Well, this is what the profile for that day would look like. But here, in this case, we have a range of days that was sideways trade overlapping, creating a range trade for a period of time. Now I'm showing you how to go create a profile for a range of trade over a series of days or weeks. In that case, it was weeks, right? And we have a value area high, low, and a point of control. This is very important information. You see right there, the point of control is 38.50. Remember that, okay? So now when I go back to the daily chart, I'm going to show you how we came up with a target. That was our target. That is how we came up with a target for this price as it was breaking, and we were interested in what is our price target while this uh, breaking price action from. Now, this is a whole different story, a whole different reason, but everybody in the futures room knows that we had a reason for wanting to be short on the February options expiration. It goes actually back all the way to the COVID. Go look at February options expiration of COVID in 2020, and then look at the March expiration of COVID and see what happened there. So what we had in mind was we wanted to be short from the February options expiration, and we wanted to know what is a target. 38.50 was our target. I just showed you how we came up with the target of 38.50. Now, did it have to happen? Did it have to work out that nicely? No, absolutely not. Had no idea that it was going to work out that nicely until it did. But we had monster trades on for the idea that it could work. And if it did, it was going to be a very low cost loss versus a huge win. And we did that in the form of butterflies, options, right? We did butterflies. So that means if you do a butterfly, and we did them 50 wide, if you do a butterfly and you can get into 50 wide butterfly for, say, in this case, I think we paid $1.50 for those. Well, the potential win is the remaining width of that butterfly, $48.50 for a cost of $1.50. That doesn't even really matter. What matters is what I'm showing you is the way to create a profile in order to create an idea for, in this case, a target, right? Now, let's do another one and come up with a reason for what we think and how we think about what's going on right here, right now, today, in today's market, not past history like that. But anybody who's in simple trading knows that what I'm telling you is absolutely accurate. We had a price target of 38.50, and that's how we came up with that target. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you what's going on up here at current price, right here, right now, today. You can see that we came off this lower and right on March options expiration too, I might add, by the way. The liftoff was right on the March options expiration. Zoop, up it went. And here we go into what that zip up off the bottom started going sideways right about here. I mean, you came up on this day. I guess theoretically we could consider March 31st, but we didn't know that that was the sideways until it started really going sideways on about April the 3rd. Okay. April the 3rd, all the way until today's trade today, present. You can see if I zoom in on the chart here, see if I can zoom in and show you something. You see over here on the left, I have the letters. I have it a, a text file on there. I've had this magenta line that I've hand laid on this chart. I've got MCVPOC of April 3rd and through the 24th, but it's really through present, right? And we have that as being the most traded price, about 53 and maybe a half, 41.53 and kind of maybe a half, right? All right, so zoom back out. That is April the 3rd right there till when I did it last. It was April the 24th, but now we're going to go do it until all the way up until and including today. So we're going to do the same thing we just did a second ago. We're going to go back over here and we're going to tell it, I want to do on time, I want to create a custom range of April the 3rd through present. Put it on about hourly, I guess. Create that profile. Double click on the indicator. No, I actually accidentally double clicked my hand laid line on there. Put all this information on one chart. All information on one chart. And now we can see for that was MC Microcomposite. I was part of a homework group years ago. We had, it was led by a Canadian fellow named Doug McKay. We had probably 10, 12 some odd people in our little group. We met every single day after the market and did homework and looked at charts and created a plan for the next day. And we came up with lingo for what we called things, right? So he was Canadian. So in Canada, I learned composite. They call it a composite. It's called a composite. But if we were looking at an aged chart going back years, then that was like an aged, you got to come up, that's what we called it, a composite. It was like composed of all the information going back, say the last time we were trading in prices. I'll show you how to do that too if you want, but the answer is it's the microcomposite, right? It's a series of either days or weeks over a trading range, and that's the name that we gave it, and therefore the abbreviation, right? So you can call it anything. You could call it profile of April the 3rd through today if you want. Anything, whatever works. But here's what it looks like. You can see that for all this time that we've been trading in this range of 4100 by 4200 in the ES, with the small exception of the fact that we traded a few points higher and a few points lower, we've been really trading in a 100-point range for 1 month and 2 days now. 1 month and 2 days. We have the very most, the value area high up here is at 4180, value area lows down here about 4120, and the absolute most traded to the tick on the nose most traded price in this entire region is 41.53. And where do you think we were trading as recently as just yesterday on the Fed, on the news, and on the on the we're headed right back there now on the heels of Apple and the non-farm payroll. It all roads lead to that price right there. That's how I'm showing you a picture of why I would say the words like I can prove to you that I mean, you see what I'm saying? It's like this is the how you create the picture for the reason that price from down here where it was evidently deemed cheap enough to find a buyer, and it's working its way back to where it's working its way back to 41.53 is where it's going, right? Kicking myself for not buying yesterday. Were you in the? We did a dual broadcast in the training room. No, in the futures and options room, and we bought it yesterday at 40.80. And I was just in the futures room a few minutes ago and showing folks where I was still in those from 40.80. We did pretty well on that. We bought them at 12.30 yesterday. Yeah. Okay, you were there. All right, cool. You were there. All right. Now, what was I going to do? Oh, I was going to keep my promise to the question about going back even maybe further in time. And here's how I would do that, right? If you want to go back further in time, I would say here's how I would go about making that decision. I would go even to like a weekly chart to create a how far back in time in history do I need to go to create a profile that I'm going to call a composite or composite for I love old Doug, but I don't know what I don't know. He one day he said, "Okay, I'm done." But it was great trading with him for those years. This was back in like, man, what was it like 2000 and like 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and 13 or something like that. We had our group that was pretty cool. So here's what I would do. All right, look, notice the high came in up here at 48.08 or whatever. It doesn't matter. Whatever it is right there. That's where the high came in. Okay, cool. And then price broke all the way down here to last year at 3,500. So I would say this. What happened after that? It rallied back up in the middle. Okay, fine. I've got enough information. Here's how I act on that information. I go to the low right there and I say, how far back can I go to include prices that include that by the 4,800. So look left to be right. Always remember that. I learned that from somebody too. They said, yeah, look left if you want to be right. I said, okay, I have to remember that. So here we go left from 3,500, boom, and it goes back to what is that? November of 2020. November of 2020. Okay. So what do we do with that information? We do the same thing we just did a second ago, only we call it a different name. Call it whatever you want to call it. I would call this a composite, but you can call it anything. I would go here. I would say create a custom range for me. And the important part, you know how to do this. I've already done it twice. But the important part here is what I'm sharing with you is how I came up with the decision to go back to that point in time to create a profile that includes all of that information. That's the important part. That's the real takeaway. So let's spend our time on that. It's like, remember, I said, okay, the high came in at whatever it did. Then it broke all the way down and started rally back up into the middle. So how far back can I go or do I need to go to include prices that include all of that range? The answer is November of 2020. So I would go back. I would start November the 9th of 2020 to present, and I would create a profile for this reason. That's what I'm saying. The important part's the reason. I would say I want a profile that shows me the price that's all the date, all the trading that's been done from 3,500 to 4,800. And what does that look like? And it'll give you a point of control, value area high and low. And those are real important prices that you want to absolutely be aware of. And I would call that my composite. And that would be the most aged study that I think I would be interested in anyway. I would go back that far and have I would have a composite for that date range, and I would have micros for all these little sideways consolidation periods of sideways consolidation. Anytime you find these are weekly charts now, this is a weekly chart. So anytime all these weeks that it was sideways up here at the top, you'd want a profile of that. Anytime it spent some weeks going sideways, overlapping itself in here, I want a profile of that, and I would just have a picture of that and know what was the most important price in that sideways consolidation. Because when price starts to work its way back into that area, that direction, coming in contact with that sort of vicinity, that's what you want to know. You want to know if it's working its way up into that profile. You say first thing you say to yourself, where's my value area low? Because that's going to be the first target. If it can get inside there, then you say, oh, absolutely. Sniper focus, crosshairs are on point of control. That is the absolute main target in this profile. And then if it happens to, when it does happen to ease its way through there, then you say, okay, next target, value area high. That's what I need to know. All right, this is tremendous information from this little picture that you can get, and so that's why we wanted to take the time today to explain both the market and the volume profile charts. They're both very helpful, both widely used, probably market profile more so than volume. You can determine for yourself whether which one you like. I think you'll find a more granular kind of a level of specificity in the volume versus the time profile, but to each his own. They're both fantastic. They're both quite helpful. You'll decide which one you like more, and either is certainly fine. Hey, Lorna, can you do me a favor, please, and share a link to the volume profile chart in the restream that's going out to you, or if you're not, you may not even be in there. Maybe I need to do it. Um, I think that's it, folks. I think we're good. We're done. I'm putting that link in the restream for you now for toss. And like I say, if anybody's on TradeStation and wants the layout that I showed you there, then you can reach out to me, Neil, Neil at simplertrading.com. For those in the YouTube and Facebook and that kind of stuff, if you want to come join us, and we do this live during the day, all day, every day that the market's open. Find us at simplertrading.com. Come join us there. If you want to just come in and look around, that's certainly cool too. We have an open, free training room. We call it the training room, where a number of the different moderators, well, I'm in there right now. As a matter of fact, I know you hear me on YouTube or whatever, but I'm also in the training room right now. You can come join us in there with no subscription or fees or anything like that, and come just hang out with us. A number of the different moderators make their way through there throughout the different days of the week, and kind of showing you what we're doing, what I'm doing, what's working, what I'm trying to kind of, you know, accomplish, that kind of thing. So come join us there if you like. We'd love to have you. And until I'm with you again, let me wish you good trading and happy Cinco de Mayo. Good weekend. Go get your Taco Tuesday on tonight, I guess, on Friday. See you again at the next presentation.